What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the latest offering from Coffin Rot, Dreams of the Disturbed. This also came out on September 20th, this time on Maggot Stomp Records, and this is the band's second studio album overall, and this is yet another band from Portland, Oregon. What is it with Portland this weekend? Like Unto Others yesterday, and now Coffin Rot. Portland's got something going on across the board in metal, it seems, but I digress. So yeah, this is a Portland-based death metal band, very much in the vein of old school death metal, and I was curious to check this one out, considering I like the name Coffin Rot, and also seeing some of the bands they were compared to. I'm like, this should be a fun listen. But we kick things off with Slaughtered Like Swine, nasty angular riffs, and those angular riffs hang on for a long time on this track, but it does get thrashy, and when I say thrashy, it feels like almost like punky death metal, like Autopsy, I would say, like that kind of vibe, but it does turn rather groovy, and like I said, those like angular progressions kind of stick with you throughout the majority of the song. It shreds nicely, and there's even a doomy breakdown that makes it feel like a Death Doom song, like Autopsy. So, right off the bat, we're off to a nasty start with Slaughtered Like Swine. Then we get into Perverted Exhumation, and immediately blast beats and like borderline thrash metal riffs, like they're more machine gun, not so much on the tremolo, and it feels very thrashy. But then out of nowhere, you get into classic Morbid Angel tremolos and groove, which I will always love a good Morbid Angel tremolo riff and a groove. And even the lead that shows up on this track, like pretty much the leads across the board are all over the map. Sometimes they get into big dive bombs, other times it shreds. And a lot of the leads are very comparable, I would say, to Trey from Morbid Angel a little bit. But yeah, the lead on this track was particularly dark, and then you get into another big breakdown. Lurking in the Cemetery, this one, very different from the majority of the songs on this album. This one has a little more of a sludgy feel. Like, it's more mid-tempo and sludgy, and it kind of reminds me of Sinister a little bit, and even the song itself feels a little more sinister in vibe and tone and mood. But then later on, you get back to blasts, you get back to tremolos, and back to shred. Unmarked Shallow Grave, this one, I think, kind of goes for, like, every single death metal trope you can think of. Like, there's double time rhythms, like Bolt Thrower. Then it gets into, like, almost thrash forward stuff, and then that gets into, like, galloping blasts and tremolos, similar, I would say, to Skeletal Remains, and I would say Skeletal Remains is a good comparison band to Coffin Rot. And then even the groove that comes in later on in the track feels kind of obituary-ish, like it almost feels like something you would hear, you know, Trevor and Kenny, or even back in the day, Trevor and Alan do on the guitars, and even like Donald Tardy doing on the drums. Like, it just feels very obituary in the groove. Even tapping sections with the solo here. Living Cremation, this one was the shortest track of the album. It was almost 2.5 minutes. Musically, it feels like directly out of Swedish death metal, like Entombed and Dismember. It's thrashy and vicious and tremolo-riddled. The only thing that's missing is the HM2 tone. If it had the HM2 tone, this would have felt like something directly out of the early 90s songwriting-wise. Hands of Death, this one, pure Morbid Angel worship. The blasts and the riff work, even the triplet chugs and tremolos and the groove, directly from the playbook of the mighty Morbid Angel. Although, what adds an extra nuance here is the melody and harmony that shows up before the guitar solo kicks in, and it leads perfectly into that solo. It felt like a proper progression from this harmonized melody from the guitarist right into the guitar solo. It just flowed together like a Tennessee waterfall with a slow finishing kick. That's a Coors Light reference, even though I don't drink. Next up, we get to Predator Becomes Prey. This one, very triplet chug and blast forward. Feels very much like Cannibal Corpse and Deicide, like that type of Floridian death metal influence where it's just all about the chugs and the blasts. Although the solo that shows up here may be the most melodic solo on the entire album, and I also love how the bass builds things up a little bit more. And then to the closing track, the longest track of the album at 6 minutes, The Howling Man, eerie, clean melody with like horror movie samples, but then it goes back to like almost every trope of death metal. It's thrashy, there's some double time, it gallops pretty well, even the clean melody returns in the middle before you get a shred-tastic solo, blast beats, breakdown, and then finished. This album just pulled no punches when it came down to just unleashing an onslaught into your ears. Production wise, it's very raw, it's very gritty, but it's mixed pretty well. And I would say the only complaint I really could find, like there are a few complaints I would say, is that maybe it goes down the old school death metal well quite a bit often, where there wasn't really like a whole lot of nuance on here. Like really the only big nuance I picked up on was in Hands of Death with that harmonized melody. Other than that, it's just like, bullet train aggression, which I absolutely love, but maybe by adding in more melody, it could have been cool. Well, actually, not entirely the case. Predator Becomes Prey with that solo definitely felt more melodic. So you had a couple of melodic spots that showed up on here in terms of like that aren't like clean melodies, but in terms of like distorted melodies, those were the two songs that had a little more nuance. Whereas most of this album is just all about one mood, and that's just be brutal. So overall, I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5. I thought this was a damn good album and very fun to listen to, and it's only a little over 30 minutes, like 32, 33 minutes, something like that. So it's an easy listen, it doesn't drag, and it goes straight to the fucking jugular. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.